Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is only a few days from release. It is one of the most special games I have ever had the pleasure of playing, and I mean the original version here. It's the game that got me into Xenoblade and really kickstarted this wild, wacky adventure with Xenoblade. And it's one of the games that have had the biggest impact on my own imagination throughout the years. And I want to talk about why I love this game so much, and its potential future, now that it's coming back with Definitive Edition. Hello everybody, I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming. And it is my belief that Xenoblade X embodies the best elements of what Xenoblade can be at times. A combination of an incredible, beautiful, and unique world populated with big, bombastic, and powerful characters, all alongside unique gameplay and just a great feeling of adventure, weaving its way throughout the entire experience. I think of all the Xenoblade games that I've played at least, Xenoblade X is the one that takes the most risks. They don't always pan out and don't always add to the overall experience. Sometimes it can be clunky or weird and just bizarre. But in the best of times, I think it's those risks that make you really appreciate what X really stands for. In my opinion, it's one of the best open world games out there, and also one of the most gorgeous games I've ever had the pleasure of playing, despite the fact the game was originally on the Wii U. It goes to show that you can have absolutely incredible vistas and beautiful screenshots everywhere you look without needing the best-in-class power. Artistic style and direction, when taken appropriately, can go such a long way. But Xenoblade X is not just a game predicated on the risks it takes with its open world, but also in a lot of other elements. It embodies the idea of being an RPG, allowing you to really immerse yourself in the role that you play and giving you more customization than ever before and since in Xenoblade. It's the only Xenoblade game where you actually create your own character, and while that may or may not be everyone's cup of tea, I think it does work for X, as it allows you, the player, to really stand beside a lot of these great characters that X has. Is X the best Xenoblade when it comes to actual story? No. Its pacing at times can be quite compromised and quite, well, let's say, weird. But I think in X it provides a unique perspective by being able to play as your own character that you don't get out of the other Xenoblade games, and that's not to say that the other Xenoblade games are better or worse because you play as an actual character. It's just a different flavor. And I think at times variety is truly the spice of life. If you play only one type of thing too often, it can get quite boring and stale, but when you design some variety, it can mix things up and tackle things at a different perspective that the other titles just simply weren't able to. Again, it's not inherently better or worse than the other style, but it lets you appreciate different elements of what this IP can truly be. You can have like whatever playstyle you truly want and take the story in ways and directions you couldn't before. It's not like you can completely change the main story, but you can have an actual impact in the world of Mira. For quite a few of the side quests, like you can have characters die if you so choose to. Sometimes you may not even realize that a choice leads to a character's death. But it's the sum total of all these decisions, the sum total of all the decisions you make, not just in quests, but also in terms of customizing your character and also customizing your party, that leads to your own playthrough feeling so special and unique, and it's almost as if it's your own Mira. Granted, Xenoblade X isn't the only game that can elicit this feeling out of you, the player. It just does it really well, in my opinion, and doesn't have to go overboard with it either. Yeah, the soundtrack won't be for everyone, but god dang it, I absolutely adore it. It's my favorite soundtrack in the entire series, and it's the soundtrack that I go back to and listen the most compared to all of Xenoblade. And heck, compared to a lot of other games out there. I am someone who absolutely loves lyrics in music. I just love vocal performances, and Xenoblade X has a lot of songs with lyrics. And Sawano music with lyrics is just another level of beauty, in my opinion. And it adds to the overall experience, and despite the fact that in original Xenoblade X, there weren't actual audio sliders, so the audio balancing at times could be, well, let's just say crap, and trust me, even that is being kind to it. The music just adds to the size and scope of the world, but also the emotion the game can invoke at times. A cutscene where characters are just standing around a table discussing what's going on can have so much more emotion because it plays my favorite song in the entire franchise with The Way. And while that cutscene in particular can be really weird because the song is way louder than the actual voices in that scene, I think it's a unique element that games that just resonate with you can invoke, and that is you can appreciate even the jank. Xenoblade X is a game of peaks and valleys and awkward design philosophies throughout. And while Xenoblade X is far from a perfect game, I believe it is the pursuit of perfection that can make games better. But it's also the belief that games have to be perfect that can compromise your own enjoyment of it. And when you hyper-fixate on problems and issues, that while absolutely they do exist, overly focusing in on those issues can prevent you from appreciating what else is there and can remove enjoyment you could potentially have had with the product. Heck, my favorite Xenoblade game is Xenoblade 2. That is far from a perfect game as well, and it's kind of funny how, in my opinion, the two games that have the biggest peaks and the lowest valleys in all of Xenoblade are also my two favorite ones. Xenoblade 2 and Xenoblade X. Because for me, what X does right and what it does so well, it does to such a high standard and to such a degree that it overshadows and overpowers those issues. Those issues when they come up annoy me, but I'm able to look past them, willingly so and excitingly so, because of just all the things this game does so well. Navigating the world is just fun. Whether you're in the scale having Don't Worry blare in your ear, or you're just navigating the world naturally on foot and then you go into a scale and the entire scale of the world changes and allows you to appreciate it from a completely different perspective. Or you're customizing your character to just play completely differently and to synergize with your party in different ways. Or you're swapping your party members in and out for different combinations. Or you're customizing your scales to give yourself your own unique look while also customizing the scales of your party members, giving them their own unique flair personal to you, or you're customizing your barracks where you and your main party hang out and take missions, or you're just exploring how beautiful this world can be. This game just does so much right. And like I talked about before, Xenoblade X, compared to all the other Xenoblade games, takes the most risks in every element of its actual design. From the music, from the world, to navigation, to the actual gameplay, to the story, to the storytelling. Xenoblade X is a special game in my opinion. And I think looking back on it is one of the games that made me fall in love with open world games. It's like this and Skyrim. Because Xenoblade X showed me just how expansive and beautiful and fun a world to explore can truly be. Xenoblade X has one of the most gorgeous worlds I've ever seen put to a game, but whereas in so many other games and in other Xenoblade games, they give you these grand visual spectacles, but you can't really interface with them all that much. In Xenoblade X, it even says on the back of the original box. Yeah, I have it right over here. I'm getting out of my chair and grabbing the box. I'm looking right on the back of it now. Like, this is how they chose to advertise Xenoblade X originally. Earn your own robotic scale and customize it to take on gigantic enemies head-to-head and travel to new heights. If you can see it, you can reach it. And that is true. It's not true at the beginning of the game, but this is what really drives home the beauty in the design of Xenoblade X for me. The game unravels the more and more you play it. The story gets immensely better. Like, for the first half of it, the story can be really slow and dragged out and not much can really happen. And then it just goes, alright, rapid fire. Boom, 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 boom. And it's great. And that's not to say the back half's pacing is too fast or anything. It's just really dang good, and a lot happens. But it's not just in terms of the story. When you first start out and you're walking your jabroni butt across Mira, it's big, it's giant, it's varied, it's cool, going from zone to zone with different aesthetics. This game keeps you on your toes, and then you get your skill, and it completely changes how you interface with this world, because now you can jump higher than you could ever have done before. You can go faster than ever before. The world starts to feel a little bit smaller, and you can go to places you couldn't before. It changes your entire perspective on the game. You become more powerful. You can take on tougher enemies as well. With the skill, it gives you a new thing to really gear out and customize and build up with your body. And then you can go to 2 new zones that you might have been able to swim to before, but you never would have really done that by yourself. But then later on, again, the game completely changes and puts itself and just spins everything around, because it lets you fly with your skills, which once again changes everything. Changes the scale and your perspective on the world, but also allows you to now truly do what it says on the back of the box. And if you can actually see it, you can go there. And sometimes when you go there, you might find a giant thing that eats stars, or planets, or whatever. You find giant monsters, you find giant cool places you can now explore that you never would have thought they would have actually done. But this game has so much passion and love and care put into its its overall construction, it is once in a lifetime when it comes to being an experience, in my opinion. It's a game that gives you that sense of wanderlust, but doesn't ever underdeliver and just allows you to explore it and gives you something cool to find no matter where you go. You're exploring the world and you look up originally and you may see a floating island up there. You may just go, oh cool, floating rocks, it looks pretty. Then you get your Skullfly, you go all the way up there and it's an entire zone with things to discover, things to fight, things to collect. Xenoblade X for me is a standard that so many other games do not reach. The open world genre, over the last decade, if not longer, has been overplayed time and time and time again, and we've seen games that would be better without it forcefully shove an open world into the product to where the open world feels like nothing more than a glorified loading screen to pad out time and engagement metrics in games. But in Xenoblade X, what makes that open world so good and compelling and unique to me is that the open world is the content. Exploring the world, immersing yourself in it, falling in love with Xenoblade X, that is the content, that is the world. The world is the content. And it gives you so many different ways to just gaze out and interact with it. From various different pieces of loot you can collect, to different monsters you can fight or just note down. Expanding your map, generating passive income, the various quests this game has. This game has the best side content in Xenoblade, bar none. I don't even think it's close. And the biggest issue Xenoblade X has always had wasn't anything in it, it was the fact it was never expanded on after. Because the game drops you off on a massive cliffhanger they're at least seemingly addressing now with Definitive Edition. And I'm so excited to see where this pans out. Because I hope in my heart of hearts that Xenoblade X is a success. Because I love this game and I want to see more of Mira. I want to see more of X. It's sci-fi done right, damn it. And it's so interesting, raises so many questions, and in the game even answers a few of them, but it leaves you off with so many more questions you desperately want answers to. And we just never got them. And we're going to get a few of them at least, seemingly, with Definitive Edition, but it's my hope that more and more people, especially newer Xenoblade fans, first of all, welcome. But it is my hope that more people can see the beauty in Xenoblade X. Will it hit for everyone else? No. You can't design a game to please everyone because then you won't have anyone really truly fall in love with it because you won't specialize in anything. But I think Xenoblade X has so much going for it, and I think in Definitive Edition they're improving on so many different elements to make it a better experience, in my opinion. My hope is that Xenoblade X does better than ever. More and more people fall in love with it, and that we can actually see at some point in the future a Xenoblade X2. I would love that. Assuming they're not doing the thing where they're just going to bring X into the canon and then Xenoblade 4 will just essentially be the continuation of X and 3. I know that's a bit of a conspiracy theory. I think there is some weight to it. I don't know how much though. It's still like completely up in the air. It depends on what they're actually doing in Definitive Edition. We can get really nerdy about this if we want to. I will always fall in the position that they are the ones writing this story. If they want it to happen, they can just write it to happen. But I would love to see a Xenoblade X2 at some point to expand on this formula and just see where it can go, iterate on it even more, make the world even more expansive, more gorgeous, more captivating, iterate on the combat, make it a little bit more faster, smooth out that early game like slog the combat can be, because it can be really slow at the beginning. I would just love to see this game expanded on, because I highly doubt they can properly address all the questions Xenoblade X leaves you off with just in Definitive Edition, pending how much they actually add to it. I would love to see a Xenoblade X2 at some point. That's my dream. An improved scale system, which seemingly they're improving in Definitive Edition with Racefelga. Who knows? I think it's called Racefelga. Look, I'm really god-awful with names. I think in a previous Xenoblade video called The New Skull, they keep showing off like Ragnarok or something. I'm just warning you all right now, I'm turbo garbage with names. Improving the class system. There's just so many things that the X formula can be improved upon, even outside of Definitive Edition. I just want to see more, you know? And it's funny to me, because I even clocked this back with Xenoblade 3, when they not only made Xenoblade 3, but also Future Redeemed. I clocked that they took massive inspiration from X way back when. Because when you play Xenoblade 3 and you play Future Redeemed, and especially if you haven't played X, this is a fun little, like, experiment you can do. When you're playing through X, just note all the design changes or choices they clearly took from X and put in 3. There's a lot more than you think. When Xenoblade 3, there's far more emphasis on a larger scale world and exploring it and trying to embody that idea that if you can see it, you can, like, go there. Not to the degree X has, but to some level, it's some version of that philosophy in 3. Also, with the class system, the interlink system in combat essentially takes the role of your skill. Not to the same degree or anything, but to me, it is clearly inspired on some level. It's still really different, but on some level, clearly inspired by the skill system, in terms of the goal being that you become way more powerful in this mode. And then in Future Redeemed, they take more of the side content approach from 3, whereas the base game of 3 takes more inspiration on the giant open world. Future Redeemed's like, okay, the side content feels far more inspired by how X did it, and it's like 3 in Future Redeemed. I talked about this way back, by the way, more in detail, but like 3 in Future Redeemed feel as if they took like different elements of X and wanted to test the waters and see what people really liked, and if those design philosophies from X would still work in the modern day with Xenoblade, and I think they do. And now with X, it's just like, hey, here's Definitive Edition, go nuts. And you know what? I think I will. I'm ready to go nuts. Full cashews, full peanuts, full pistachios, possibly full almonds. At this point, I'm uncontrollable! Through the black tar of time, I think Xenoblade has found its way. Possibly the way. Alright, now cringe like rattling off of song names aside, I think I'll call the video there for the day. Just wanted to pretty much glaze one of my favorite games of all time. Before, you know, Definitive Edition comes out, I glaze it way more there probably. So thank you all for tuning in, my pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment down below what your favorite Xenoblade game is. Or if you're diving into the franchise for the first time with X, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you excited for X? You looking forward to it? What are you looking forward to in particular? I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Leave a like and subscribe. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.